I'm excited to introduce Julie, and I said it, Eliathamby. I'm not going to pull a John Meisinger. Also, once I tell you about her, you'll see why I think she would be a good Rotary member. And she knows a lot of people in this room already, so it would be a smooth transition. So Julie, a Chinese Indian from Malaysia, moved to the United States in 2005. She has lived in Peoria for the past 12 years. She's a multilingual, cross-cultural professional with over 25 years of experience in operations, customer service, and sales. Julie's primary focus is building client-centric teams and creating efficiency in processes. She loves an entrepreneurial challenge and has been active in consulting as well as running her own import retail and construction and interior design companies. Julie oversees operations for the investment division at Better Banks, which we also don't have a representative from. She is married to Jim, a native Peorian who works at Bradley University. They have one son at Peoria-Notre Dame and a junior at Bradley. For the past 6 years, Julie has been very involved in the Peoria community. She founded the Tireless Project and ran that program for 2.5 years before handing it over to GIMAX. In 2018, she founded Peoria Grown to tackle the food insecurity and community wellness program in Peoria. Please help me in welcoming Julie.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much, Katie, for inviting me here. And as she said, I'm Julie Eliathamby, and I'm the founder of Peoria Grown. So what is Peoria Grown? What do we do? Looking at our logo, are we a cannabis company? That was what my husband thought when we decided this logo. Unfortunately, not. Do we grow anything? Yes? No? Not really. What we're growing is we are 6 passionate Peorians. Most of us are transplant. And about 4.5 years ago, I was invited to be part of a leadership program by former Senator Chuck Weaver. And one of the things that we had to do, be part of that program, was to find a capstone project. And in 2018, as most of you are aware, a couple of grocery stores closed in our South End Peoria and in the West Bluff area. So our team at that time decided to look at the issue about food insecurity. We wanted to understand what was food insecurity. And for me, living in Peoria, I had no concept of what that was. So what we did in 2018 was go out into the community, start talking with different nonprofits, agencies, and also the city about what are we doing about this issue. And as we were doing our research, 2 things came up. Majority of the families that we spoke with were having a hard time getting access to food. Now, when I say food, I mean access to the right type of food. They were getting a lot of food from the pantries, but there was another issue that kept coming up that a lot of them were dealing with, which was health. So the food issue is just not about feeling a hunger anymore. Now our families are also battling a health crisis. The other part that we found out too was that a lot of our families were struggling to understand how these food play a role in managing some of their health issue. So that automatically became our 2 major principles of what we do. How do we increase? How do we increase access, but access to the right type of food, which is fresh, affordable food. And the other part is tying it with education. We need to help them connect the dots. So why do we do it? We found out that access and affordability are key issues that's impacting our families. A lot of our families that live in the areas that we serve do not have transportation. Transportation is a key barrier. You know, we just assume I've got a car, I can get in a car, I can shop and look for the best price we want. You know, we've got different options. Most of our family don't. So if you look around in the neighborhoods that they're in, what do you see? Most of the time, you see a lot of convenience stores. You see a lot of fast food stores because that's what's available and what's popping out right now. But when you walk into those places, especially the convenience store, and mind me, I'm not saying anything wrong about convenience store, they're meeting a need. But when you walk into those stores, majority of the time, you don't get anything fresh. A lot of it is processed items. And if they do carry anything fresh, most of the time it's really 2 or 3 times higher than they would have if they have a transportation to get to a nearest grocery store. So added that to our families, a lot of them are also on a very strict budget. So when you don't have a transportation, but you still want to bring food into your families, most of you, I don't know, I shouldn't assume, like a mom, when you're a mom, you want to make sure you get the food to your kids. And even if you don't have, you're going to figure a way. And if there's a way is the easiest one across the street to the convenience store, you're going to do that. You're going to go across knowing you're going to be paying more. But what happens when they do that is that they end up running out of money pretty quickly. So before the end of the month, they're like, the link card is gone because they have to use it to buy the food that they can get easy access to. So when we talk about food insecurity at Peoria Grown, we no longer just talk about just getting food into people's hands. We are looking at the nutrition part because that is the biggest issue now facing our families. It's no longer just about food. There is food. In Peoria itself, there are over 40 different pantries that we know of. There are little ones that we don't even know of that does. But what our family needs is access to those right type of food because they're dealing with a health issue in order to keep it under control. So how are we doing it? So when we first started in 2019, where we formalized ourselves as a nonprofit, we had no money. I was going around everywhere begging for money, like, can someone give me some $100? And we knew, like, what can we do when we have no money? We're starting this nonprofit and we're dealing with the issue from a very different angle. We're looking at it more as how can we educate? The first thing we wanted to do was educate first. So we were very fortunate enough. I went to Hy-Vee. After this time, by then I've tried like all the grocery store and everyone has turned me down. So I went to Hy-Vee, was my last resort. And we had a new director in Hy-Vee. And so when I went in, I told my board, I've got 3 asks. They're like, what are you going to ask? 1 ask is enough. You're going to ask 3? I'm like, yeah, I'm going to ask for money. I'm going to ask for their facility to do my cooking class. And then I'm going to ask them to pay for the class. They're like, you're crazy. They're not going to do all 3. I'm like, hey, nothing gained, nothing lost. I'm going to do it. I'm just going to walk in. And lo and behold, I had this new director who, by the way, her husband was a dietitian. Oh, God was looking out for me. So I walked in and I pitched my idea, sold. She was like, I know you're new. We don't have any track record, but we're going to fund you 2 classes first. We're going to give you $150 for your classes. We're going to let you use our kitchen in the 2nd floor. And we're going to loan you a dietitian to teach the class. I got it. So we started that, and that's how we started in 2019. We started with a cooking class. We wanted to just connect with the community. We want them to understand the food, but we also wanted to make sure we have the right person leading it. I always use myself. I think I'm a great cook. You ask my husband, he thinks so. But when I cook, I just go like this, like that guy who does that meat thing. That's how I cook. I have no clue about how much sodium and how much sugar I need to, because thank goodness in my family, everyone is healthy. But for a lot of the family we work with, they have health issue. So we need to make sure that when they come to our classes, we're connecting them to someone who knows what they're talking about, to guide them, to give them the information they know so they can make those changes. So we have the dietitians, so all our cooking class are led by dietitians, and we have been so fortunate. We started with Hy-Vee, then we ended up working now with all the OSF dietitians. They all volunteered at time, and then we have expanded to working with the Bradley Dietetic School. Again, all the dietitians come in, they get a chance to go out and teach and with the kids. So the kids cooking class is our most popular one. I love the kids. If we're talking about making behavioral change, they are the one that you need to go in front of. They want to learn how to eat healthy. Everyone say kids are picky, but when you go in front of them, you teach them, they're like sponges. They want it. They want to try. Sometimes they just need a little nudge, but then once you get them used to it, they want to. So our class, typically for a cooking class, we have the same kids with us at least for 6 weeks, because we notice that when we have them over a period of time, that's when things actually stick. They learn the information, and they will go home and make those changes. The other big part of our cooking class is that we noticed from, again, getting community feedback, getting feedback from people who attend our class. They not only come to our class and learn about nutrition, but they get the ingredients to go home and recreate the meals. That was one of the things we learned about when we were talking to community. They tell us, oh, you go to cooking class? Yeah, I do. Then do you go home and make those meals? Not really, because part of the challenge for them is that sometimes when you give them those recipe cards, some of the produce is something new. Just like every one of us, sometimes it's new. You're not like, I'm not going to spend the money buying something I'm not sure I'm going to like. But the other part is a lot of our families may not have the affordability to go out and buy it. So to remove that barrier, we provide the ingredients. We want them to go home. Now you learn how to make it, go home and recreate the meals. We found out through our survey, 90% of them actually do it. They send me pictures, they text me photos. Hey, I did this, but I added this and this. I'm like, brilliant. Part of it is for you to go out and try it. Now you know what to do with it. I'm going to tell a story about this one that we did with eggplant. Oh my gosh, when I brought the eggplant out, it was an adult class. They all wanted to leave the class. They're like, we're eating eggplant today? No, we don't like eggplant. Why are you making us eat eggplant? But then the minute after we taught them how to make ratatouille, they're like, this is brilliant. This is fantastic. Now we like it. But again, it's just that behavioral change. When you don't try it, you don't put it in, and they don't know what to do, their first assumption is, I'm going to hate it. So our goal with the kids is continuously doing that, inundating and creating that access, and we're hoping that they will change the behavioral change in them. A lot of you may know about, I'm going to go back to our fruit stand. So what is our fruit stand program? This is a great program. This is a program that we partner with Big Picture. Everybody know who Big Picture is? Okay. So we had this idea because, as you know, our mission is access. So how do we get access in front of kids? We wanted to create a fruit stand where kids can go up anytime during the day while they're in school or if they're in any of the nonprofits to grab a fresh fruit. Because I think we forget, for us, it's so easy. We have a bowl, like in my house, I have a bowl of fresh fruit in my home. A lot of the kids we work with don't have that. So we wanted to be able to do something like that, but I was going to go ahead and buy a fruit stand from Amazon. And then I find out from Elaine, she's like, you're not buying anything from Amazon. You're going to get US made and I'm going to get someone to make it. I'm like, okay, I'm not a carpenter. You need to find someone. So again, I was very lucky. She got Jim Costner. If you know Jim Costner, he's one of the co-owner of Gymex and also a brilliant carpenter. I didn't realize. So I gave him the design of what I envisioned. He went ahead and created this fruit stand. And then what Big Picture did was they used their funding to pay local artists to paint this. So each fruit stand is actually a work of art by different local artists. It's amazing. We started out with 2. Right now we have 9 in the community. They are in local schools like Lincoln and Manual High School. And majority of them are in nonprofit centers like Friendship House, Dream Center and stuff. The goal is that right now, what we do is we fill that fruit stand once a week. It costs us about $80 to get those fruit stands filled out. We have 2 staple, which is always apples and bananas. And the third fruit will change based on seasonality. Hy-Vee is very good partner. A lot of what we do is because they work with us, they sell this to us at cost. We raise fund and we pay for it through our fundraising. So we have huge feedback. I mean, we just installed one at Manual High School 2 weeks ago. I'm getting their football coach and said, oh my gosh, Julie, that banana and apple now, I'm making all the footballers eat that instead of Cheetos and everything that they get. So I'm sending them out that door and getting them used to eating. And I'm like, if you see the vending machine, put it right next to the vending machine. So instead of, them going to there. But again, it's encouraging them to eat, and they are. And kids are smart. People told me when I started this idea that, the kids don't like fruit, they throw them away. Kids know when it's good food. That's the difference. These are fresh. They come every week. Hy-Vee delivers fresh to their doorstep, and it's gone. Usually I don't even have it lasting a week. It's gone within a day. So our goal right now is to raise more funds to be able to fill the stands more than once a week, because they're gone so fast in the schools. Our last and final core program, Market 309. How many of you have heard of Market 309? Awesome. So what is Market 309? So last year, during the height of COVID, we had a pop-up mobile pantry where we were getting fresh food. We knew during that time that we needed to get this out into the hands of our family even more with what was happening. We didn't have a van, so we tried to figure out how to do it. So we used my CRV and another board member CRV who would fill my CRV with fresh fruit, the other board member with veggies. And every Thursday night, we would hit different neighborhoods. So one week we'll be at Harrison Home. One night we'll be at Taft Homes. One night we'll be at East Bluff, West Bluff. And what we do is we'll drive into a parking lot, pop up our trunk and say, come and get your veggies. And it was during that time, a lot of the families came up to us and said, hey, Julie, we love that you're giving it to us free, but we would love to be able to buy it, but we can't afford it. It's too expensive for us to eat some of this fruit, fresh fruit that you're giving or the veggies. And the other part is that there's nothing around our neighborhood that we can go to. So that stayed with our team the whole time we were running this program from September to November of 2020. In November 20, we met as a board and we're like, okay, we know these are two barriers. What can we do? And we're like, you think we can run a market? Just like the farmer's market. And for me in Asia, that's what we have. I used to tell my mom when I grew up in Asia, we have this little corner store. And my mom was like, okay, Julie, here's $1. Go and buy 2 cucumbers and 1 tomato and come back. Okay. So I'll just walk around the corner and there's a store and we can get that. And I was like, can we recreate something like that here? And we're like, we could do it. So we didn't have a lot of money again. We're very small. I'm going to keep repeating that. We're a small grassroots nonprofit. And we're like, what are we going to do? How are we going to do it? So we went up to Hy-Vee and Hy-Vee was like, well, if you guys want to do it, we'll continue to sell it to you at cost and we'll deliver it to you. But, and I said, would you be okay to buying smaller quantities? They're like, we'll work with you on the smaller quantities. So in January of 2021, we opened our first Market 309 at Logan Recreational Center. That's in the South End. One of the things we decided to do too is that when we were looking for location, we were offered so many different places to go. But we knew the biggest need for us right now was to be in the South End. And we wanted to be in a location that people were familiar with, that they can walk up to us. And Logan, the Park District was so nice. They're like, we have the center. It's not utilized on the weekend. Come and use it. We're like, great. So we said, we'll start once a week. We did a community assessment. We walked around the neighborhood. We asked the community what days, what time, what would you would like us to bring in. And from all that information, we opened our store in January with just 10 produce. Right now, after 15 months, we're carrying over 80 different types of produce. We have served over 3,000 community members. Our numbers are growing. It's coming to a point where it's becoming that jostling each other. So now we're trying to figure out how to do crowd control and get them to be able, but our goal is to make this a community market. So within last year with we got a grant, which was humongous from Community Foundation. They gave us a hunger grant. And with that grant, we were able to open 2 more locations. So by the end of 2021, we ran 3 markets. Every Sunday at the South End, we opened one in Northeast Peoria, which is downtown Peoria. We partner with Ridgeway Church, and that's every Tuesday evening. And then we opened one at Bradley University. Now that one, when everybody was kind of like, what? You're opening one at Bradley? So the reason why we opened one at Bradley is because, as I said, we work very closely with the dietetic student. So when we look at food insecurity, I think we have in our mind the type of demographic we are serving. It's bigger than that. Food insecurity among college students is rising. It is one of the biggest, we called it the invisible group that people don't think about. The USDA last year extended SNAP benefits to students. Students now can apply for SNAP. When we talked to Bradley, there were about 30% of Bradley students that were food insecure. So we started writing to the Parents Association. We explained the data that we've got, what was happening, and they were very gracious to give us the grant to start the market. That market has exploded. It's every Friday. We have it out in the quad during the nice time, but when the weather turns in the winter, we're in the atrium. We have an average of 80 students that come up to buy from us. And I didn't really explain a little bit of our pricing, why that's a big draw. Everything we have at the market is priced $1, majority of things. We have only maybe 4 items that are priced $2 or $3. So for example, you get a box of blueberry for $1, 2 cucumbers for $1, half a gallon of milk, $1, a big tub of yogurt for $1, hummus for $1, eggs for $1. This is where our family are at now. This is the price point they need us to meet, for us to help them meet their budget. Because when we went out to the community, we asked them, what will make you come in and buy? They're like, what is the price point that will say, I'm not going to think twice about eating healthy? Everyone said $1, because maybe it was $1 General, that's around there. But we're like, okay. So that's what we have done with the market. Our goal this year is we're going to open a 4th market because the need has grown. We're getting more and more people coming out, but we're running into challenge because we don't have storage. So we cannot buy a lot of fresh because these are fresh produce. We want to sell out. So we need a bigger hub, a bigger place. We want to build a brick and mortar corner store. That's our vision. But our goal is not to have Peoria Grown run it. Our goal is to have the community run it. So we want to include a workforce development piece in there. We want the store to be run by people that live in that community. So that's what we're working towards this year. We're writing for a couple of grants to get that to get the capital investment so that we can buy the coolers and then we can train people within the community to start running. Right now, all the markets are run purely by volunteers. No one in Peoria Grown is paid. We all volunteer because we feel so passionate about this issue. We feel that this is how we deal with the root cause of what's going on. We, our family, want to be self-reliant. They do not want the handout. I think there's such a big stigma that they want a handout. No, they have so many barriers facing them. Our goal is to help them take that first step to remove those barriers. One of them is affordability. So if you meet them where they are, they will come. Because we assume that because they have a link card, that they can just go to a Kroger or Aldi and shop and they'll be fine, will be within their budget. It doesn't work, even within those grocery stores. There's limitation to that link card. So that's why we're also thrilled about the link card is that we were just awarded by a USDA grant called Link Up Illinois, where we are able to match link card recipient that comes to our shop. So for example, if you are a link card recipient, you come in and you spend $10, we can give you another $10 to buy produce. It's only for produce. So now families can spend $20. And $20 at Market 309 is like $80 at Aldi's. That's how far the money will go. So we are excited about that. We're starting that at the end of the year when we get the funding coming up, not at the end of the year, at the end of May. So how can you support us? We need volunteers. I know Rotarians are volunteers. We need help at the market. And let me tell you, you're not going to be standing there in the side. We'll keep you busy. You'll be running. And the best part is that you get to see the impact of the work. I always tell volunteers and our donors, come to the market. You get to hear from the families that shop at our market what this is doing for them. How is changing their lives? How is it making improvement? We have families coming out and telling us how the last year shopping at Market 309, the A1C has gone down. They've lost weight. They're eating healthier because now there's no excuse. I'm right across the street from their home. They just have to walk over. We're collecting all this testimonial to go back. We are also right now working with hospitals in our Food RX program. We're trying to get our healthcare providers to be our biggest champion. So when they see patients who they know are food insecure that may not have the ability to purchase this food, to give them this vouchers to come and shop at Peoria Market 309. So their $10 value, we leave it up to the docs to decide how much they want to give it. But our goal is that we work with the healthcare at every juncture where the families are, at every gap where they are, we can close that gap up for them. So we are also looking, of course, for donation. So any help is appreciated. We have our website. You can learn a little bit more about all of us and what we've been doing the last 3.5 years. The final is share our vision. Tell more people about Market 309. Tell them what we're doing. Come and see us. We would love to have all the Rotarians volunteering at any of those 3 locations. Again, thank you so much for allowing me to share my story. Thank you.
Do you have any questions?
Thank you. Very, very interesting. Build Peoria has a thing going on right now where if you vote for one of 4 things that you think Peoria should spend some money on and do, isn't one of those things that your new Market 309?
Yes, we are the 5th program, Market 309 for Treewind Park. That's going to be our 4th location. Yes.
So vote for it.
Vote for it, yes. So if you go to our Facebook or Instagram, there is a share, we share Build Peoria link to the vote, but we're also going to be doing some reminders to our followers throughout the month because that voting ends at the end of May. So yeah, vote for us because Build Peoria is trying to give us the capital investment to be able to turn Treewind into a real Market 309 instead of a pop-up. Any question?
What are your new locations beyond Treewind? What are you looking at?
So, yeah, so our goal is to, I like to pilot things. Okay, something, if people who know me, I like to try things out and figure out what works and what doesn't work first before I ask people to hand me a big amount of money and say, okay, go do it. And we're like 2 months later, it's not working. So our goal with Treewind was we knew from the data and from the feedback that we've got from our families that they want us to be there more than once a week. The need is grown for us. So Treewind was our biggest one because that's where we have the biggest need for us to be in the south end. And that location, why we chose Treewind was because it has 3,000 square feet of space. There is a kitchen there that we could use for our educational piece that was kind of missing in the Logan location that we are at, because education is a big piece of what we do. So our goal is to test out Treewind, figure out all the processes, how we're going to work the workforce development piece within the community, how much buy-in and support do we get from that community, and then replicate this in all those neighborhoods that are considered food desert, which is like the East Bluff, the downtown area. And again, our model, we built this model in the sense that it doesn't have to be run by Peoria Grown. We have a toolkit. We would love other groups who say, we love this passion, we love this model, we love what you're doing with this issue. We would like to run it. And we can give them that toolkit and be the advisory board or be the advisory committee to help them run it. But we know right now the landscape of where we are in Peoria with regards to this issue. People have asked us, why don't you do a co-op? Why don't you get another grocery store up there? Right now, that community, especially, I'm going to use the South End because that's where we have the most data and we're more, we know the area a little bit better. They cannot support those right now. Even the co-op idea, we played around with that co-op idea so much. We talked to so many different groups across the country. We called them out to find out what worked, what didn't work. Financially, for our families now to even be supporting a co-op, they can't do it. So the model of Market 309 is kind of a hybrid of that, where a nonprofit like us, we're going in and building this business with no intention of making money off it, but to address a need within that neighborhood and that community. That's what we're trying to figure out right now, if this is going to be the model, if it's going to work. And so far, 15 months, it has. Market 309 is self-sustainable. Right, last year, 23% of the revenue from Market 309 was part of our budget. So that was one of the things that we took into consideration when we looked at what is the model for this kind of for this kind of work. We wanted something that's self-sustainable because we know some of the challenges that nonprofits are going to, where if they're relying on grant, relying on donation, if that dries out, that program dies. And that was a big part of our thought process when we create this. If something goes wrong, is this program going to be able to continue? And we have done it, and it's yes. We may not be able to scale it and make it bigger, but we can sustain it the way it is in a smaller scale and keep it going until we find another revenue stream. But the other goal was that we wanted it to be bought in by the community. If the community supports it, which they have, a lot of the customers from Market 309 is all purely word of mouth. If you know Peoria Grown, we have no budget for marketing. The only thing we do is on social media because it's free. But everything, how people find out about us, all pure word of mouth. Friends telling friends, coming, and then just people coming to the market every week. Hope that answers your questions.